Hello everybody, welcome to On Deck with Maestro. In fact, today we are below deck with Maestro because it's windy and cold out there. So we retired here down below decks in the lovely Sparrow and Marina 1 at the Santa Barbara Harbor. My guest today is Frances Rabalais. Frances and I crossed paths many years ago at Des Moines Metro Opera.
Yes.
And she has since directed, she's a stage director and fight choreographer and educator, and she has directed opera around the country with companies like Madison Opera, North Carolina Opera, and New Orleans, Pittsburgh Opera, but also some of the big houses, the Houston Grand, Washington National, and we reconnected because she's down in our neck of the woods, directing as an assistant director at another big house, LA Opera. And the production that she's assisting on is a production that even if you haven't seen, you've most likely heard of if you follow an opera. It is the 2012 production of The Magic Flute that was created for the Komische Oper in Berlin by Barry Kosky. And as you may have heard, it's an opera that is kind of blends the genre of opera with that of silent film and projections. It's inspired by German expressionism, and it has combines projections and intertitles and all kinds of fancy stuff. First of all, welcome, Frances.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here.
And so the first question I want to ask is, tell us about The Magic Flute. It's a production that has been celebrated. It has been an enormous hit since it was premiered in 2012, and I don't think there's any other like it.
No, and they say, although it's very hard to get exact numbers on this, that it's the single opera production that's been seen by the most people around the world, because it's, there's a version of the production. I mean, it's the same production, but there's a set that lives in Europe, and there's a set that lives in the Americas, and there's a set that lives in Asia. So it goes around to all these different places, and it's very popular everywhere it goes. So it is, the set is a big white wall with these rotating doors with little platforms underneath the door. So if you're upstage, you stand on the platform, and then the crew spins you around. And then if you're what the audience sees is somebody spinning around and standing on a little platform. And they're harnessed in, I think it's 14 feet above the deck, something like that. And then so it's a white wall, and they project around you. So it looks like you're on top of a mountain or under the ocean, and they've got like a little bubble in the projections for the person so their face can be seen. And like the Queen of the Night and the Three Knaben have, they call them cocoons. They're like white, kind of, they feel a bit like foam. So they're very stiff robes, and they project onto those cocoons to create their costume.
Oh, wow.
So the body of the Queen of the Night is like a skeleton spider, and so you're just seeing the performer's face and then this costume. And they project the body of the skeleton spider onto the costume. So she fits in with the rest of her spider legs. It's very interesting. It's a lot of fun to work on. You kind of feel that the creators probably played around with all these possibilities of how to interact with projections.
Yeah.
And it's really fun. If you haven't seen it, it will surprise you at every turn. So it's a lot of fun.
There's actually one more performance this Sunday.
Two more. They added one on Saturday.
Oh, okay.
So Saturday
one more
night
tomorrow,
and Sunday.
Saturday. Well, I don't know if we're going to get this out soon enough, but I mean, it's a really phenomenal show. And what surprised me is that you're also the understudy for Zarastro.
Well, I'm technically the emergency understudy for everybody. So
wow.
I've been fitted with a harness, which is something that we all had to go through a pretty intensive training on harness safety, and you have to make sure that the harness isn't worn out and that the connections are all very solid, because somebody falling would be very, very bad. And so I was fitted for a harness, and I've worked on this production before with Houston Grand Opera, and I played Zarastro for Final Dress.
Wow. With
the big stovepipe top hat and everything. So it's a lot of fun. Let's see.
But you didn't have to sing.
No. They had somebody else singing. Yeah, I still have some singing chops, but not Zarastro.
Not that low. Yeah.
No.
You won't go that low.
No. Yeah, it's an adventure to work on this production.
I think it's like the precision required. I mean, I don't know. I'm thinking
yes, it's
for
very
the singers.
choreographed.
I mean, I think because the singers, okay, so probably they have on average less to do than they would in that different productions.
Yeah.
They don't move around much, and there's no all that.
There's a lot
but
to do.
I mean, if you're just like, okay, no pressure, it's all gonna be your head.
For the Queen, yes. But like Papageno has a ton to do.
Okay,
he has,
so it varies.
Yes, so they, at one point for his second aria, they project a big martini glass with a straw coming out of it. So he has to like lean into the wall and make it look like he's drinking the martini.
Okay.
So it's sort of like that sort of things, of like how you can interact with the projections.
Yes. Well, I remember many years ago, probably about close to 30 years, or a little bit, maybe a little bit less, I saw it. First time I saw something similar was at New York City Opera. They did a production of La Fin des Sortilèges, and they had a screen in the front.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it was front projection.
Yeah.
And it was, so they did it like Fantasia.
Oh, neat.
So, and there was, I first time I saw that, I've never seen, I don't know, it's such a great idea, but they haven't been done much. I don't know, I've never seen that before, but anyway, so do you have a favorite scene in the Magic Flute?
I think it's the one I just talked about with Papageno and the martini.
Well, no, there's a martini, right?
Yeah, well, it's really fun because it's a pink martini. So he does a quick change from his yellow costume into like a black and pink costume. Okay. So it's like a whole fantasy dream sequence. It's very fun.
Wow, it's pretty sophisticated for Papageno.
It is.
I would expect him to drink Bud Light or something.
No, not in this production. Yeah.
Okay, so I want to go to something else that is related because you have so many skills, and so in your bio that you're certified with the Stage Combat Association?
Society of American Fight Directors.
Society of American Fight, and you're certified in 3 weapons.
Yeah, unarmed.
So we had to put her through the metal detector before we let her in.
Yeah, it was unarmed, broadsword or longsword, depending on who you ask. They go back and forth on the terminology, and rapier and dagger. And so when I was first leaving my training program at Pittsburgh Opera, I was an apprentice there. I was like, you know what? I've always loved stage combat, and I think it's really cool. And I think not enough singers have extensive training.
Yeah.
And I knew that I'd be working at these sometimes smaller houses that don't have the ability to hire a fight director. And I was like, I want to be able to do something really basic safely and to make it look really good.
Well, and I think Opera Santa Barbara would be one of those companies. Because,
sure.
Yeah, I mean,
it can be prohibitive.
Could we hire a fight choreographer? Yes, but I think it's if a director comes in that has that, not only the skill, but also you have the confidence that they can, because sure, you can always fake the violence, but if audiences expect a certain realism.
Yes.
And to do it realistically, do it safely is of course of paramount importance.
Yes.
So I think having a director who is a double threat, so to speak, really helps.
Yeah. So I went to the national workshop, which is 3 weeks of 8 to 12 hours a day of training.
Okay.
It was physically one of the hardest things I've ever done. And, as someone who was coming from a directing background, from opera, and a singing background before that, the way you test in these weapons or areas is by performing dialogue, like a scene of dialogue from a movie or a play. And I was like, okay, now I remember why opera singers are really intimidated by dialogue, because it's really just not what we do all the time. So we did scenes and incorporated it. For my unarmed test, my scene partner and I did, do you know the movie Miss Congeniality?
I know of it, I've never seen it.
Okay, so there's a scene in the beginning where she and her rival, later love interest, are sparring.
Okay.
And they're fighting about this job they're about to take on. So we knew we wanted something comedic, so we worked that scene of dialogue. It's, she doesn't want to take the job because she feels like she's just being put in as the token woman, and her rival is sort of like, no, you're actually good, and I actually wanted you to take this position, and she's like, don't patronize me, and so they fight about it.
Okay.
It was fun.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah.
So you've worked both at regional opera companies like Opera Santa Barbara, or a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller, and you've also worked at the big houses.
I have.
So I have too, and I know for me there's been a lot of there's two different categories of experience. But tell us a little bit about how you have experienced that.
I feel like the thing that I learned very, very quickly was that the good singing and the good singers are not limited to either. Like the singers that are singing incredibly well and are excellent storytellers and excellent actors are both at the A houses and at the smaller regional companies. And I think that's incredible, like to live, we sort of have that luxury of like a glut of incredible singers in America, which is, makes the market hard if you're a singer trying to get work.
Not enough jobs.
Not enough jobs.
We've said this on this show many times. That's the biggest problem.
Yeah, but it's also great because for audiences, they can get really, really good singers, if they're at a company that's, very, very small or very large or somewhere in the middle. I think the thing that I also learned is that good opera and good storytelling is not predicated by a company's budget of like, we can put on a fantastic whatever we're putting on, Tosca, fine.
Right.
No matter the size of the company. And, and it's about the story that I and the singers and the conductor build together, and it's not about, do we have a drone show in the middle, or do we have all silk costumes, or are we dealing with, maybe some other things? It's, it's definitely that like the story and the emotion can be there no matter the budget. I mean, you could do Tosca with a chair and a light bulb on a stage,
well, there was
and it could
many
be
years
really
ago,
great.
I think you probably might remember this, but there was this little company, I don't remember what it was called, in New York, that they did this bare bones Tosca that was in this little warehouse or something, and it was like, I don't know, maybe 100 people in the room. And,
Wow.
And it was got good reviewed by the New York Times. Everybody was talking about.
Yeah. That's like face melting close. If you're
exactly.
that close to the soprano.
And it was pretty edgy and.
Yeah.
I can imagine it gets pretty loud. Actually, our friend Eleni Kalenas was sung here a few times.
Oh yeah, I've worked with Eleni a long time ago. Yeah. I was there. I think I was an assistant stage manager for maybe her first Butterfly.
Wow.
Yeah, like back in 2013 or 2012.
Yeah, was that in Shreveport or something?
Yeah, I think it was
Oh
Shreveport.
my God!
Yeah.
Yes.
John Burton was there. Yeah.
Oh my God! Yes, John Burton was there.
That's the first time I worked with Burton.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah. It's a small opera world.
Yeah, Eleni actually did. She did Tosca here, and she did Butterfly.
Oh, fantastic! Good.
Yeah. So I know because you and I talked before. We both connected on the fact about discussing this idea of a performance or a story. The way a story is told is it's sort of triangular. It has the composer and the librettist, the people who created the piece, and then there's the performer, and the audience is an equal partner.
Yes.
In this.
Yes.
Tell us more about that.
Well, I think of like the score and the libretto is like the static part, right? That's the thing that doesn't shift. But then you have, the live performance element, and then you have the audience element. And I think you really need all three of those to get the full effect. Because if it's just, the final room run, and it's great, and the singers can do a great job, but that's sort of, I don't know, therapy for the performers and not, until we go to the audience, it's not really complete.
Right.
Like I think there's an energy that comes from the audience. Because we're putting on this story to make the audience feel something.
Right.
And if we're putting it on to make ourselves, as the director or the performers, to feel something, then it's therapy. But we're really putting it out there because we want the audience to go on this journey with us. It's sort of a more the merrier thing.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think the the ongoing philosophical discussion. So, well, if no one's reading a book, does the book really exist? Or if a musical piece is not, so it's the moment that you close your production of Butterfly and you put the score back in the shelf. Does that still exist?
Yeah.
I'm not going to go into that because the only thing that matters to me is that, in fact, every time we have a rehearsal, we tell the story. I mean, that's that's what we should be doing.
Yes.
And so the final room run is one of those things. That's why, for us, we make sure to have some people in the room for the final
It can
room
really
run.
help, especially in a comedy.
Because exactly. If they're not laughing, you gotta either cancel or redo it.
Yes.
But it's because that's where you really see what people do. But I think also it's what the idea of the value of going to the theater is that you have this communal experience of this one thing that's maybe you've heard La Boheme like 100 times, and
Sure.
they've played it 200 times.
Yeah.
But that particular performance, with those performers and that audience, will only happen once.
Exactly.
And you were there.
Exactly.
It's a sense of occasion that I think we don't always
Feel, yeah.
Because
We don't
it's
always
like-
acknowledge it, but I
right.
think it's
And
yeah.
I think one of the greatest examples is Jake Hage's Dead Man Walking. I think the reason it's such a genius piece, and that's why it sort of changed opera in certain ways, because the opening scene is terrifying and the closing scene is terrifying.
Yes.
The great murder,
But in
and
very
first scene
different ways.
and execution. And as an audience member, you feel complicit in both.
Yes.
That is
yes.
my like. If you're there, it is extremely uncomfortable, even if you're in the 200 to 2000, and you have this experience at the beginning. Now you're like, I'm in this. So
Yes.
everything else that happens over the next 2 hours and a half, it's about you.
He raises the stakes immediately.
Exactly.
And I think that it is a private violent act, a secret violent act that
Right.
feels very public because the audience is
Right.
there, and you really have sort of hyper awareness of the vulnerability of the victims. And then at the end, it is a more public act that should be more private because it is a
Yeah,
death.
I never thought. Yes, absolutely
You know, like
right.
he's sort of bookending things. And I have a lot of feelings about Dead Man Walking because I am from South Louisiana.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay, I
I
didn't know
really, yes, my family is from South Louisiana. We're Cajun. And I believe, I haven't tracked down the paperwork, so this might be hearsay from my family, is that I'm related by marriage on one of my aunt's sides to the DeRoches.
Oh wow.
So yeah. I haven't. Nobody quote me on that, but
Yeah.
I
W.
feel
Janet
very
Records.
strongly about the accents.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we did when I did it in Tulsa. We had a specialist. But it's I mean I think Dead Man Walking is the textbook example about how a good composer and a good story draws the audience in.
Yes.
In a way that they can't extricate themselves. But I think it happens in every opera. I think it's
if we're doing our jobs
you
right,
experience
yes.
your Tosca. I mean, it's your Rigoletto.
Yes.
Is your I mean,
Yes.
you are thrust in the middle of this court that is dark and dysfunctional and damaging to people, and you can't escape. You just have to go through with it. And
That was my
see
thought
how
when
you-
I was at Disneyland for the first time this week, and I was on the roller coaster. I can't escape. No.
Well, you're
Not a
very
roller coaster
courageous
person, I
every
found
time.
out. No.
I mean, an opera is running an opera company's roller coaster is
I'm
not for me.
sure,
Thank
yeah,
you very
yeah.
much. You said about mention storytelling, which I know is very important to you, and
Mm-hmm.
I think one of your things that you're very interested in is helping young artists become better storytellers, not just better singers, but being actually perfecting their acting to a level that is goes beyond what one might always expect from an opera performance. Tell us more about that.
Well, I really believe that our body is the way we tell stories on the stage. I'm really less interested in this sort of movie style acting where it's all about what someone's thinking, because the camera zooms in on somebody, right?
Yeah, you
And
can't see what someone is thinking from the balcony.
Exactly. I mean, I think maybe you would have problems from the pit rail sometimes, but
Yeah.
just because there's a lot of distance there. And so for singers, I think that our body, the way we use our body on stage translates to the character's behavior, which is how we gain insight to their feelings. So even if a character is having thoughts about conflict, should I do this, shouldn't I do this, how do you show that that conflict on stage, right? How do you show that uncertainty in the body?
Right.
Because, Tosca can be stabbing Scarpia, and the performer can be thinking about, if she has to go pick up her dry cleaning, right? But if we see her doing the stabbing and making the angry face, then we know what the character is experiencing,
Right.
which I think is more important than what the performer is experiencing. Not to say that the performer's experience is totally detached. They're
Right.
enmeshed, which is sometimes good and can sometimes be bad, and we can go back to talking about Dead Man Walking on that.
Right.
But I find that a lot of young singers find it freeing to know that they, I'm not becoming Tosca. I'm doing the behaviors that make sense for Tosca in her situation.
Right.
So it's less about, sort of
It's not method acting.
method acting. Yeah.
Which is, I imagine it can be a terrifying thing for an opera singer. I mean, if you try to method act, you probably forget your lines.
You forget your lines, or you lose your, your technique. Is really, I think, the big thing.
Yeah, I mean, the singers, they are under the pressure because they have to sing.
Yes.
You have to do it exactly right, and it's not exactly right. It's not always the same. Like tonight, you have to do this way, and so I think so much of your finite attention has to go to that thing. So that you have to have perfected the other.
You have to perfect it so much that you don't have to think about it.
Yeah.
You have to, and this is why I really love stage combat. I think it's such a useful tool for young singers, which is find a training around you. Is that stage combat is also meticulously technique based and choreographed, like the act of bel canto singing. So that technique.
It has to become. I mean, I think they say I think singing can never become second nature. But I think maybe you can get the acting to be second nature. You can focus on the dangerous part.
Yes.
Yeah, while looking in the. Speaking about the method acting, I mean, I'm not a performer on the stage, but I tend to get. I love opera because it's theater, and for me, it's about the characters and about the story, and I kind of want to be all the characters, good and bad.
Yes, that's exactly, yeah.
And so I've got in trouble. The first time I was conducting a streetcar named Desire, I was so emotionally exhausted by the end of Act 2.
Yeah, I bet.
That's like, how am I going to do Act 3? And that's why I learned this lesson of you are not Blanche and Stanley. That's you have
to have an eye on your
you have a job to do, and the emotion is for the paying public.
Yes, I mean, there's stories about Maria Callas doing, cracking on Mimi's last B flat or whatever.
Right.
She's at the end of the opera. That's a calculated giving, right? Like she has nothing. She's almost done singing. You can empty the gas tank and burn through your reserves at the very end of a piece. If you can recover from it. Maria Callas was Maria Callas, but
for better or for worse.
Yeah, exactly. People have opinions, but that's something. But you can't do that. She couldn't do that in Act 1.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. You have to be able to show the audience that your character is experiencing these feelings spontaneously and reacting spontaneously, but you still have to be performer enough to sing well and to do your staging, because the last thing you want to do is surprise your scene partners. It's so rude.
And the other thing that I think sometimes when we're doing an opera that has a recitative, the note that I find myself giving most often is don't anticipate obviously we're all taught to know each other's lines, and you have to know, of course, you have to know the music, of course, but top, bottom. I mean, Maria Callas said you have to be able to sing everybody's part.
Yes.
So I say, do not anticipate the lines. Like, it feels like you already know what he's going to say. You don't.
Yes.
So I think playing with that timing is so important, and it is so, I think, even more dangerous difficult, I should say, not dangerous, for opera singers, because in opera you don't control the timing. The composer or the conductor, there's 2 beats that happen there. You don't get to stretch. Like you don't get to take another beat if you need a beat.
Exactly. I mean, this is the first thing you learn. So I started off as a singer.
Okay.
And when I was at the end of my undergrad, it was time to start looking at master's programs, and I was like, oh, this is not what I want. And I was like, but directing, interesting. And so I started reading and getting into, the Boris Goldovsky book and, all these writings about, oh my gosh, it's great.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a story about that later. But I read Adolf Appia, who was a director who, in the very early 20th century, and he was he was a scenographer, so he designed the sets and the costumes and the lighting, and but he wrote a lot about opera and about, he has a whole little booklet about time being the crucial element in opera. You're doing Shakespeare. If you want to take 5 minutes and add a mute scene, where somebody's doing something that makes perfect sense for the character, you can, and it can fit right in. But we don't really have that liberty in opera. We have more flexibility with recitative, which is why,
with comedy.
Yes, exactly. Barbara of Seville, you can put whatever bits you want into the recit. You can make it work.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we've seen them all. But
absolutely. absolutely.
I've done so many barbers. I did 5 barbers in 3 seasons once. That was a wild time.
With may he rest in peace, the late great Peter Strummer. He had this bit in the barbers. He was after like a Luna. So Bartolo is watching Basilio sing, and he's like, he's sang this the house comes down, like amazing aria, like a Luna, whatever, and every time Peter would ask like a few seconds, and he would go, and they would be quiet, and then the body would start cracking up. I think that kind of mastery of time.
Yes, and I mean you can really flex your comedy chops in a recitative, especially like the recit for Barber is so it's just like brimming with possibilities because it's so much fun.
So you like comedy, don't you?
I love comedy. I love that I know exactly when it's right, when it's
That's
optimal.
That's a rare gift.
I feel like I know exactly when it's right.
Comedy makes us nervous.
No, I love it because you have to be so precise. I mean, comedy is really difficult to rehearse because you have to be so precise with the timing, and I like a lot of visual bits, which take a lot of physical coordination, and but I find it to be the most fun, especially like giving the gift of a night full of laughter to the audience. I think
know,
is
right? Do
great.
People need that right now?
Yes,
What?
yes. Escapism. Opera is escapism, and it's valuable.
Yeah.
So
I mean, not that
I
we
love
can't
comedy.
go dark, but
No.
always.
But we should also go light.
That's exactly it. I mean, I think there's that's why I was very impressed when she told me that I asked her what you like, and you said you like to do comedy because so many young directors. Well, I want to direct The Ring, and I want to direct every opera.
I do also want to direct.
Yeah,
The
of
Ring,
course.
to
Yeah.
be clear.
For those of you hiring out there, but it's people almost like think that comedy is kind of.
Oh no, it's harder.
And actually musically, I think
Yes.
musically conducting a bel canto comedy is about as virtuosic an activity as you
Yes.
will ever do. Although nobody ever knows. I mean,
Ideally, the audience has no idea that it's difficult.
yeah,
right?
but you have to get the time of comedy, and plus the stuff is hard to sing. So.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't know. I like. It's funny because when my staging process, I do all my historical prep, and I have a ground plan of whatever set we're working on, whether it's a new production or a rental, and then I'm just sort of listening to the music like once a day, every day for a week to get it back in my brain, and then my goal is to know it better than the conductor. Yeah. Musically, and then it's just sort of watching the movie in my head, and I'm like,
okay. Have to get you to direct here and have a competition.
We'll switch places for a day.
Not my job. Yeah, people can pay good money for that.
Oh, you know what? That'll be yeah. We'll start selling tickets.
Yeah, excellent. This will be in your next subscription season.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions for me?
Oh, I do. I thought of a couple.
Okay.
And this is one. Sometimes a lot of people, like if I'm talking to somebody who's not an opera person, or they have a little bit of knowledge of opera, and they're like, "What is your favorite opera, and what should I see?" But I have a different question for you.
Okay.
What are your favorite 2 measures in an opera? So like not like the whole opera, but like, and you don't even have to like the whole opera, but like these 2 measures are the ones that like really stick in your brain or stick in your heart, and like, or like whenever you hear it, you're like, "Oh, that's good."
Well, I'm pretty sure that as soon as we wrap this up here and I go home, I'll be like, "Oh yeah, those two and those two." And those two. So I can't tell you what my favorite two
Sure,
are.
but like right now,
you asked me a question that I've never pondered before, so I'm going to tell you a couple of things that come to my mind.
Okay, great.
One is the 2 measures in the Marriage of Figaro Act 4 finale, including the preceding silence, which also, I think, depending on, it can be, it's a moment where you can add a lot of time, is before the count sings, Onde sa perdono. So another one is, in the Act 3 of La Boheme, Mimi sings her aria, and Addio senza ranco. always wish for a very long silence. Oh, maybe, but my two favorite measures in opera are always constructed of silence.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Can I tell you about a
Yeah,
silent
please, go
moment?
ahead, yeah.
So it's a production of Don Giovanni, and I had this DVD at some point, and Rod Gilfrey is playing Don Giovanni. I think it was in Zurich in the early 90s.
Right.
But it's the recit before the duet with Zerlina.
Okay.
And it's like everyone has left, and they're alone. And they put in this long scene where they're folding a tablecloth together. And the recit, they roll the chord. It's been silent. He's been making eyes, but not too much. And she definitely knows that something's going on, but she's not really sure where it's going. And it's silent. They're putting this tablecloth together, and they bring the corners together. And when their hands touch, is when they roll the chord for the recit. And like that's how they start the scene. And I was like, wow, that was really like you were just so tense waiting, and then the chord
I have to
takes
watch
somewhere
it because
else. It's a good one.
Because that's often a scene. I can't say. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I will probably be judged for this the rest of my life, but that's not necessarily a scene that I always like. Anticipate with.
Yeah.
I'm very anxious.
Yeah.
One last thing I want to ask you, and I forgot. I wanted to ask you about this because you and I talked about Maria de Buenos Aires.
Oh yeah.
By Astor
I love
Piazzolla.
that piece.
Yeah, it's beautiful music, and I've thought about doing it here a few times. Wasn't quite the right time or the right. It has to be done. It's an operita, they call it.
Yeah.
And so it's not exactly what. It's not exactly an opera in the way all of us understand it.
I think of it more as like
it's sort of an adjacent genre.
Yeah, a little bit performance art for
it's
opera
a performance
singers.
art with the tango, and of course the music it's very haunting. It has a lot.
It's beautiful.
It has a very operatic sense in that.
It's very heightened. It's very the text is very poetic, and I think that works well for the operatic voice.
Yes, but I think what I was interested in. Did you just do that production in Madison?
I directed it in the beginning of 2025.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and I saw that because I don't know exactly what the story is, but the story is about a prostitute in Buenos Aires who gets murdered, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of ways to interpret it. It's not really plot based. It's more the emotional experience based.
I mean, tango in itself is it's an adventure. But you said Russell read something about a concept that brings together religion and sex work.
Yeah.
That?
So Maria de Buenos Aires, the first thing that drew me in was the music, because it's so just, I don't know, you can really feel it in your body. There's something, and I feel that applies to the tango, and I think that Piazzolla was so good at making that, I don't know, he's just so good.
Yeah.
And
tango is a very almost defiant.
Yes,
art.
There's a defiance to it. Yeah.
The music and it's very unflinching.
Yes, unflinching for sure. And there's an aggression, like a fierceness to it that's really fun to explore. But there's a lot of religious imagery within the piece, in the text. And, South America, very Catholic. And I, being from South Louisiana, grew up Catholic.
Okay.
So there's a lot of overlap between the imagery there's a lot of talk about the graveyards of Buenos Aires and sort of the religious practices around funerals, and I thought that was a really interesting place to start. The mausoleums of Buenos Aires are very similar to the mausoleums in New Orleans, and so I was like, I see the connections there, and I can jump off from there. But the religious imagery, there's a real transformation that happens for Maria, from living to death. She has a life as a spirit or a ghost past her murder or her death, depending on how you interpret it. And so it, in a way, it's a very it has a lot of similarities to stories of Catholic saints, of like they're on this journey and then post-death they become more of a symbol figure, and they mean different things to different people. And then it also has some relations to sort of a resurrection Christ tale of like she's dead, and then they talk about there being a funeral procession, and she looks back at her own coffin. And so you can view that as a resurrection, and then she sort of she has the it's I think it's the Área de los Analistas, the psychiatrist or psychologist, and she's talking about her past and telling her own story. It's very interesting.
That sounds fascinating.
Yeah, and I also think, you know, Catholic imagery of halos and saints in robes and churches is very beautiful and evocative on stage. So
Yeah.
it was you know, it's my scenic design partner Katie Fetro was always like, yeah, and we can add more candles, and we just had a lot of fun with it.
So what's going on next for you?
Well, I have the summer off, which is nice. I'm going to go home and do some. My other passion is renovating my 1920 house and getting getting it back to something. It's had a lot of renovations over the years that are.
Well, it's only been 106 years old.
Yeah. So a couple years ago, I found it has the original purple and green tile bathroom, which is why I fell in love with the house.
Okay.
From 1920, and I found a purple sink and toilet to match it a couple years ago, so I had that installed, and putting in a front door that's not from the 70s and things like that. So
are you going to put stained glass front door?
I would like to. You know what I'd really like to do is make the stained glass myself.
Do you do that?
I could. This is my thing with DIY. I just watch a lot of videos and I think I can do it. So
yeah, that could be a second or third or fourth career for you.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be fun. But in the fall, I'm going to be assisting on a production of Nixon in China at Washington National Opera, and then I'll be directing a Hansel and Gretel for the University of Houston.
Amazing. Nixon in China, that's a great piece. I've seen it.
I'm really excited.
Yeah.
It's sort of, I think it was more popular a while ago, but I'm excited to get to work on it. It's not done too much these days.
Well, I mean, it doesn't matter if it's popular. It's so hard to do.
I think that's
the forces required and the orchestra. And it's so hard, and I mean, I don't think any other than like the biggest international opera houses can do it. But it's a piece that I always found extremely interesting, and I mean, it's almost. But you have to do homework. You have to read every. You have to read all about that.
I've been assigned to the musically difficult pieces for the past couple seasons at Washington National, so I have the difficult music badge, I guess. Yeah. So which is fun.
Also, every line in there comes from newspaper articles.
Oh yeah, it's very historically.
It's history set to music. Anyway, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Well, this was fun, Frances.
Thank you so much. I had a great time.
I'm sorry we didn't have better weather for you.
Oh, it's lovely.
But we'll make sure to bring you back and have better weather then.
I look forward to it. Yeah, I'll put it in a contract. Sunny days only.
Sounds good. All right. Good luck. Have a great summer renovating your house. Thanks everybody for joining us. I hope you had a great time with Frances Rabalais and me. I hope you have seen the Koski Magic Flute. If not, make sure to see it next time LA Opera brings it here in Southern California. And big thanks to our producer, Julia Lieberman, behind the camera. And we'll see you sometime soon with some other exciting guests.